It's time once again to go racing.
It does not get any better than this.
The pressure is really on now.
Yes, it's pole position. Lights out and we're racing in PSGL.
The first lap has been absolute chaos.
What an overtake.
Oh no!
I've never seen anything like it.
Side by side again. This will be settled right at the end. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Premier Sim Gaming Leagues. We are back with the top tier action on the PlayStation platform, and with 7 rounds to go, there are just 7 points separating the top 2 in the championship. Who will be leading after tonight? Will it be Matthew Alder? Will it be Isma? Or could Denerco get into the lead for the first time? We will find out soon. We are at Zandvoort for the Dutch Grand Prix. My name is Luke Etheridge. I'll be taking you through the action as always, but joining me tonight is not Aidan Carter. He is not feeling well, so best wishes are with him. Alongside me tonight is Evan Dalton. Evan, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Best wishes to Aidan, of course. But yes, we're here for Zandvoort, one of the more interesting races in PSGL's top tier. Of course, a fun fact to get us started is that only one driver in the entire championship finished in the top 5 here last season. That was Fusilio. Meaning we could see a championship lead slip up, we could see some drivers fall, and some drivers gain quite a lot. And there is a few who need that big championship surge late in the season.
Yeah, certainly. We have got a bit of a split in the championship at the moment. We have had a break week, of course, so to try and cast your minds back to what happened way back towards the end of March, 2 weeks ago at the Belgian Grand Prix, Matthew Alder had a bit of a disaster picking up damage at the second safety car period, dropping him all the way down the order. He was actually the final finisher out of the 15 that made it towards the end of the race, but it was Isma who took another victory this season, his third, closing that gap up, as we said, to just 7 points at the top of the championship. It is now Matthew Alder on 81 points. Isma has 74. Daneco is on 68. Max Wiesel on 60 points. Then a bit of a gap to Fusilio, who rounds out the top 5 in 33 points. And some other big movers after Belgium. We saw Walters get himself up with another good finish. He's now up to 7th in the championship. And Santeri, after only 3 races, 2 podiums in those, he's now got himself up into 9th. We were getting worried at one bit that Matthew Alder might just be running away with things in this championship, but that last race definitely didn't go to plan for him. Isma showing some great form once again. He's got the gap back within 7 points, but you could argue with the form Daneco's been in, he might be the man to watch towards the end of the season.
Yeah, Daneco, last 3 races is 2 podiums in 2nd place and a win. He is one to watch, and of course you mentioned yourself, Santeri, his pace seemingly is very good tonight, just going on the practice laps. But the championship still up for grabs. It was a bit of a runaway at the start of the season. 3 wins in the first 4 for Matthew Alder, but Isma and Daneco closing it in. Daneco looking the better of the 3 on the previous races, but you never really know what you're going to get when you sign up for one of these races, especially with a championship as close as this.
Yeah, we have got a lot of varied tracks left throughout the rest of the season. If we take a look at the Constructors' Championship, then it is now Williams on top, courtesy of Isma taking the victory, and a 4th place for Walters. Ferrari's got themselves up into 2nd, Red Bull are in 3rd, Aston Martin are in 4th. Just 22 points between the top 4 teams, so any one of those could mathematically be leading at the end of the night. Then it is Mercedes, Alpine, Alfa Romeo, AlphaTauri, McLaren and Haas, rounding out the 10 teams. We'll take a quick look then at the track map, of course, the Zandvoort circuit. Much changed since it first raced in Formula 1. 4.259 kilometres, 2 DRS zones, and it is that one into turn number 1, Evan. Pretty much, by far and away, the best overtaking opportunity.
So by taking opportunity into turn number 1, you can be held up if you're following, especially through that first sector. It is very narrow and very difficult to make an overtake. There has been Six variations of this circuit through the years. Of course, many famous title rivals winning at this circuit. James Hunt took his first ever win here in Zandvoort, and Nicky Lauda took his last ever win here in Zandvoort. So, Isma and Matthew both hoping they don't take their last win here this evening. But the DRS zone, only the one, of course. Oh no, the two, apologies. There is that one down to the chicane, but we never really get a move in there. If you push the car on the inside curb, you'll probably end up facing the wrong way, which nobody can afford tonight.
No, definitely. They'll not be wanting to do that. It's very easy to get it wrong on some of the curbs around here. Trust me, I have found that out to my detriment. We are just waiting for the lobby to get going. There has been an update today, and a few drivers, unfortunately, have had issues with that, but it shouldn't be too much longer. We will keep you updated. Let's have a look then at the calendar for the rest of the season then here in the top tier. You can see Netherlands tonight. We've got 4 more races before the final break week at Brazil, Mexico, Singapore and USA. Then Italy, Imola, the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, and then Bahrain being the final races. Netherlands, out of those that are left on the calendar, arguably I could say it's the one where qualifying is going to be most important because, as we've already spoken about, the difficulty of getting an overtake done.
Yes, and another big factor of this Zandvoort race this evening is going to be the weather. Rain is very, very possible tonight in the Netherlands. Those Dutch people watching will certainly know that they do get a lot of rain, and that is portrayed in the Formula 1 game. Zandvoort is going to probably not be the most crucial race in terms of the championship, but it will certainly put you on the right track if you can get a good result. As we've said before, qualifying really, really important. They say Hungary's the Monaco without walls. Well, that might have to be contradicted now for this season.
Yeah, certainly it is. I think, as we've already spoken about, it's one where you need to be on it in qualifying. I know last season Matthew Alder kind of had a bit of a bad qualifying session and then found himself stuck towards the back of the midfield. And unfortunately for him, just pretty much everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong for him in the race there. A bit similar to what happened for him last time out, unfortunately. How do you think he'll recover from that? We know he's a good driver. We know he's a strong driver. He's very experienced despite only being 16 years of age. How do you think things will go for him tonight? Do you think he'd have wanted the break week to just relax, or possibly would he have wanted to get back into things as soon as possible?
What really matters what really matters is what he thinks of this circuit tonight, because if you do not like Zandvoort, it will not be a good race for you. If you like the circuit, it will treat you very well. The top two in the championship don't like this circuit. If we're going by last season, it was 16th for Matthew Alder, and it was a non-finish for Isma. Matthew would probably have liked the break week. I think everybody likes a break week this far into the championship because it just gives you that time to recuperate, especially after what was a bit of a messy race in Spa. But yeah, it's really an opportunity for Matthew to get himself back on the right track, which he needs, but maybe if he can just get a top 5 tonight, get himself back going, heading into Brazil, and then it has to be full send to the end because you really can't afford to have a bad race in this championship, especially with the point scoring system as it is. It's not the full F1 points, it's 16 for the win. You really can't afford to be off your A game for that long, and he certainly wasn't on it in Belgium in terms of picking up the damage. He won't want that tonight.
Yeah, certainly. I think damage around here being only a short circuit. It's a short pit lane as well, so we might see some slightly different things with the strategy. The one stop, as it is around most tracks on this game, is the usual soft medium strategy is what we're going to see from a lot of the drivers. But as Evan has already mentioned, there is always that ever-present threat of rain. We are at the beach, as David Coulthard, in an own unique way, I think showed everyone who watched on in Britain on Channel 4 last year. I'm sure many of us have had therapy to try to get rid of those memories. You raced around here, of course, Evan, on Thursday in one of the lower tiers. Is there any other corners besides Turn 1 where you think could be crucial to your performance in the race, perhaps?
Well, unfortunately, we were hit with rain for qualifying and the race, but from dry experiences, one corner you have to get right is that downhill corner of Turn 7, because if you do get that one wrong, you'll either end up facing the wrong way, or you will end up in some form of a barrier, which, for any racing fans will know that's not the best place to be. But really, that Turn 1 is the main one. Around the outside is doable there, down the inside especially doable. and you need to get a good run off the banking. If we do see some wet weather, that banking is really, really treacherous, especially in full wet conditions, because all of a sudden you will feel the car suddenly slide, and if you don't have fast hands, you will be out of the race.
Yeah, and I think when I was practicing for this for a race in another league, I think I proved to myself that I didn't have fast hands. I didn't really need to know that, though. Well, I knew that before the race, to be honest. I didn't need Zandvoort to confirm that even further. The lobby is set up now, so it should only be a couple of more minutes at most before we are going to get underway for qualifying. If you're not familiar with the setup for PSGL, it is similar to most other leagues, of course. 18 minutes of qualifying and then a half-distance race, 36 laps around here, around a circuit, which is actually the shortest permanent track on the calendar. Only Monaco is shorter out of the circuits that are on the F1 calendar. And it's really tough on the front left tyre, this one as well, especially, coming fast out of turn number 1. Obviously, you've got that banked corner. The final couple of corners are banked, and turn number 7 as well. A corner where you definitely need bravery, and a corner where, in a few tiers, we've seen drivers try to go side by side, and it normally doesn't end well.
No, it normally doesn't end well, but thankfully we do have one of the best grids on PlayStation, so if there is one tier where it's going to go right, it will be this one. But unfortunately, these guys sometimes prove they are not the best tier on PlayStation. Overtakes is as difficult as ever. We've mentioned it a good few times. It will be really difficult, and most drivers will try something like that. Is it stupid? Probably. Is it what needed? Absolutely. Because DRS trains will be a big problem. If you don't know what a DRS train is, it's basically just a train where everyone has DRS. It's as simple as that. They are big around Zandvoort. Probably bigger on the last game. Overtaking is probably a little bit easier, but that and your ERS management will be crucial, and we don't really like DRS trains too much, but it can provide some good racing around the Netherlands.
Yes, it can indeed. Can also be crucial for anyone who does go for that alternate strategy outside of the top 10, of course. On the new game, that will not be a thing anymore. Everyone will have a free choice of tyres, but for now, if you do start in the top 10, as long as it is a dry qualifying and a dry race, you do have to start on the tyres that you have qualified on. So any of those further down on the mediums might just be finding things a bit tougher than they would like, especially if they do drop outside of that DRS train. Not a circuit where you see too many penalties either. It has got that, obviously, it's quite an historic circuit. First used in the Formula 1 World Championship 70 years ago now, and it has got that old school feel. It's tight, it's twisty, and there's plenty of grass and gravel to catch you out if you go over the track limits.
He won Formula 1 races. It hosts many of the tiers, the Formula 3 Masters, Porsche Super Cup, all those. But yep, it is your classic Formula 1 circuit. There's no fancy runoffs here. If you run wide, you're in a gravel trap, and that's not the best place to be for a car this fast. The only really place where you can't run too wide is that turn 7, but if you do run too much wide there, you're in the gravel, and the exact same for turn 8. You run that little bit too wide, you once again find yourself in the gravel, but there is a big curb there. You don't really want to hit it. We might see some creative lines tonight to try get the most out of their lap, but we are getting ready to go here in Zandvoort.
Yeah, we are getting ready to go then, so should not be long before we get to qualifying. We'll get to see what the weather is going to be like, of course, for this session. If you want to find out more about your favourite driver, we do still have the IGK TAS system, of course. You can use !help in the chat. That will come up with the commands, but a word of warning to everyone, it won't come up in the top chat. You will have to hop over to the live chat and let us know who you think is going to claim pole position this race and possibly get the win as well. And if you want to make some more predictions, don't forget to check out Grid Rival as well. The link is down in the description for the Formula 1 Fantasy League, where I'm slightly happier after race 2 of the season than I was after race 1, because having Red Bull as my team definitely didn't work out to be the right thing. Talking of teams, Red Bull in this championship, Matthew Alder's done it all on his own at the moment. He could, for the constructors obviously, could really do with his teammate getting further up there, and also possibly for the drivers, because it's always helpful. You can't work together in qualifying, you can't give the slipstream to your teammate, but especially once we start getting towards the end of the season, team orders and team tactics are going to become ever so important.
Yep, of course, it's always helpful to have a teammate up there with you, as we've seen many a time in Formula 1. Valtteri Bottas, Rubens Barrichello, who you like, it is always handy to have a teammate who you can, well, some would say just get out of the way, but in other cases it can be handy to have another one up there to battle with your championship rivals. We know that well from Formula 1 as well, Sergio Perez being a prime example of that. But Red Bull won't be too worried about the constructors, I don't think, because Matthew Alder does still have that championship lead, which he will be hoping to extend tonight. Looks like an all-dry qualifying so far, but we still have no report of the race conditions.
And, well, I think the curse of PSGL this season, the curse of the top tiers, because, as you know, the PC top tier was so sick of the rain, they decided to make it an all-dry session. I bet the PS top tier was wishing they were doing that now. We are expecting light rain, but only for the start of the race. After 30 minutes, it is going to be dry weather, so a wet to dry race for these drivers to contend with. Basically, even though we have got Jensen and a few others going out on a set of the medium tyres now, probably means we'll see everyone attempt to qualify on the softs, because they're more than likely all going to be starting on a set of the intermediates.
Yes, set of the intermediates will be the way to go for a wet to dry session. We will get to the slicks eventually, and hopefully a bit of racing to go with it. But the possibility of rain increases the possibility of crashes. A couple of big names might find their way out in this race. We hope not. We love to see the big names battling up at the front, but you can never quite tell. Qualifying, of course, those on the mediums, it's really just setting a banker lap and saving the softs for later in the race. We won't be seeing the fast laps done on those.
No, we won't be. Everyone is just going to, unsurprisingly, I think, take it fairly steady in qualifying. Let's go on board then with Ardapel Gamer. Thought he'd managed to get his first points of the season last time out. 3 separate 5-second penalties. Unfortunately, kiboshed that for him. But let's see what the Dutchman, the former F2 champion, can do as he heads down towards turn number 1. This banked right-hander just allowing the drivers, of course, to carry more speed through their short shifting from third up into 5th gear to try to maximise your traction, slowing down for turn number 2, and then coming through the heavy banking at turn number 3. You'll see a lot of different variations of lines through there, and now it is all flat out through this sweeping section of 4, 5 and 6. You'll see the drivers fighting side by side, just a little dab on the brakes and a downshift as he comes through turn number 7, and it is looking pretty good for him so far. Not hitting the curb at number 8. You do see a few drivers try to get brave there, but the raised curb on the inside can punish those who get a bit too greedy. Into turn number 10 now, a corner where it is going to be crucial to get a good exit as you do go onto the second DRS straight of this circuit, and heavy braking for this Stadium S section at turn 11 and turn number 12. A chicane that almost goes into a long sweeping left-hander. Turn number 13, another one where it is crucial not to get greedy with that curb on the entry or on the exit, and now you are just flat out towards the finish. Be careful not to spin the wheels with the ERS on overtake in the race, and Ardapel Gamer comes across the line for a 110.189 on a set of the medium tyres. And considering that we saw Paul in F2 and F3 was around a 109.4, 109.5, that is a very respectable lap from the reserve.
It's a very respectable lap, and it is beaten again. We're into the 109s. Those medium laps, of course, will be sent to the bottom. The Ardapel Gamer's lap, not too bad, beating a soft runner in the early stages. Isma is purple in the second sector, the man hoping to regain the championship lead tonight. He's going around the banked corner now for the Williams Racing team. We'll be hoping to put this on provisional pole position. He absolutely will do. That is a 109.569, which is an absolutely excellent banker. We may see a time just about break into the 108s tonight if we are lucky.
Yeah, let's not forget, we did see a 108 in this session back in season 29, but that was pre-patch when the cars were about a second a lap faster around here. So if we do get any 108s, I think it is down to the track conditions. These cooler conditions, obviously, are not causing the tyres to overheat, so things looking pretty good for them at the moment. Walters crosses the line. He goes into 8th place. Let's see what Matthew Alder can do then, of course. Championship leader, as he has been since round number 2 of the season. It is down to 7 points, for at least it has been for a while. He's looking good through Sector 1 and Sector 2 at the moment, but he is just about a 10th of a second off what we saw from Isma, so could definitely get himself up there with Isma and Max Wiesel, those 3 out of the 4 drivers that we expect to challenge for the title, with Denerco being the other one. He's yet to set a representative lap time at the moment. Matthew Alder comes across the line into 3rd place. Now, let's not forget, we are in Parc Fermé conditions, so there might be some changes with the setup. Some drivers might have gone for a bit more downforce just to give themselves a chance at the start of the race. knowing that they'll suffer in qualifying, knowing that they may also suffer at the end. What I'd expect most of the drivers to have done is pretty much just kept with their normal dry setup, which may make the first few laps a bit hairy.
May make them a bit hairy. Denirko has managed to go into 4th spot in his Aston Martin. The Red Bull of H-Eagle has then gone just behind him into 5th spot. Some drivers will go for possibly a hybrid setup, but that's Matthew Alder actually off the track. I don't think he has tapped the wall there. He has lost a bit of his front wing, however. Going off the track, I don't think he was pushing, but still not good to see a car in the wall at any point when you are fighting for a championship. As we were saying, a hybrid setup might be the best way to go, but realistically, we won't get that much rain. They should be all sticking to a dry setup, but somebody might be feeling a little bit risky.
Yeah, definitely. Might be an opportunity just to try and gamble and just hope that the rain carries on for more like 30 minutes rather than the 15. We know it's going to stop at some point in that, but what the exact point it is going to be, I'm not so sure. Let's see what Santevi can do. Slides his way around turn number 1, just lighting up the rears. It has been a really impressive start to his F1 career from Santevi. Only appeared 3 races ago. Managed to pick up a few points in that first race at the Austrian Grand Prix, but a second in Saudi Arabia and a third in Belgium. Will be interesting to see what he can do. Will also be interesting to see what the new McLaren driver of Valentin can do. He obviously was in F2, sort of dominated qualifying in F2 over the last few seasons, but it's only been this season when we've started to see his race pace come to the fore. So again, will be intriguing to see how he battles with the big boys on the PlayStation platform. Santevi heading towards the end of Sector 2, where we'll be able to get a time for him then. 24-2 in both of the sectors at the moment, so about a 10th down on what we've seen from Isma. And this is kind of what you don't want when you're fighting for the championship. You don't want someone new coming in who's, only there to try and prove themselves. He's not bothered. He's not fighting for a championship battle. So really, drivers like Santevi got nothing to lose at the moment.
Santevi is a real cork in the bottle for those at the front, especially with that lap, because look who he's gone ahead. That is Matthew Alder and TF10 Denirko, who he has just popped himself ahead. But Santevi is a really, really young prospect. He is a lot younger than most of the drivers in this grid. Of course, won the F5 championship back in season 28. He has kind of leapfrogged himself to be here, taking the Max Verstappen career approach, but he's put himself 3rd, and he is looking very promising himself. No, is, as we said, the cork in the bottle for these lot, because he just wants to win races. He doesn't care about the championship, and he doesn't care about who's in the championship fight.
Yes, certainly. Ardapal Gamer, perhaps unsurprisingly, after his fantastic lap on the mediums, goes fastest of everyone, 26 thousandths of a second ahead of Isma. Struggled at the start of the season, not being able to practice as much, so did drop down to a reserve. It's great to see him back. It's great to see him showing some of the pace that he showed. Likewise with Xander as well, down in 16th at the moment. He'll be hoping for a good race on what could well be his last appearance on the PlayStation platform before he heads onto the PC. We've got there Santevi heading back towards the pits, nearly halfway through the session. It is Ardapal Gamer fastest at the moment. Isma in 2nd, Max Wiesel in 3rd. Let's see what Hamilton could do. He had a pole position taken off him. Of course, at Monaco, was the fastest of everyone in qualifying. That then got taken off him with a 5-second penalty. Had a pole position also at the Austrian Grand Prix. Fortunately for him, failed to finish that race. So he's definitely got the pace, just seems to be a bit inconsistent. Invalidates quite a few lap times. And obviously that leads to penalties in the race. But the Venezuelan making his way into turn number 10. And this stadium section that is coming up next, Evan, is absolutely fantastic for the fans. Unfortunately, you've got to be incredibly brave there for us to see any overtakes.
You have to be incredibly brave there. It's not really like the Forest Sol Baseball Stadium in Mexico where there can be an overtake. That is very, very difficult. Although, I'm sure it is absolutely lovely on a race day. Hamilton coming around the banking, activates the DRS. You want to pull to the right-hand side to get the shortest run to the line. He's crossed the line and had his 3rd spot. Not a bad lap at all. Of course, got that pole taken off in Monaco. Got a pole in Austria, didn't finish the race. He will be hoping for a new stroke of luck tonight in Zandvoort, but not a bad lap with a 9.6. He is right in the mix.
Yeah, here's another driver I think will be hoping for the stroke of luck. He's gone fastest of everyone in the first sector. That has now been beaten by Fusilio, but it is Asacombe started to gain to show some pace in qualifying sessions. Just needs it to come together in the race. He goes fastest of everyone, a 109.534. Top 3 drivers at the moment separated by less than a half a tenth of a second. Things are really starting to heat up towards the top of the standings. Fusilio then, he comes towards the sector 2 point, hasn't gained as much through there. He's still on for a personal best at the moment, but he'll need a mighty final sector to get himself further up the order. Just look how close things are. Half a tenth of a second separating the top 3, just over 4 tenths of a second separating the top 14 at the moment. Confused, Elio get himself up, decides not to take that line on the right hand side, and despite going fastest in the first sector, can only get up into 9th position. Santeri himself and Matthew Alder extremely close. Let's see what the championship leader can do then. 3 wins in a row at the start of the season. Well, after the first, second, third and fourth race, has picked up another one at Austria. The only times he's been on the podium is when he's got a victory. It really seems to be all or nothing for Matthew Alder so far this season. He'll be hoping that maybe he can just find a bit more consistency. And a purple time in Sector 1, maybe you don't need too much consistency if you can just blow the field apart.
That is 3 tenths purple in Sector 1. The previous purple Sector 1 was by Facilio, that time with a 24.4. Matthew Alder has gone with a 24.1. He's a personal best in the middle with a 24.0. We need to see what he can do in this final sector, although it is looking very, very good. That gap between first and second is absolutely nothing for a Formula 1 car. The gap between any of these is really, really nothing for these drivers. Matthew Alder to the line, absolutely flat out. It is pole, and look at that. He has smashed that pole time, a 109.401, almost into the 109.3s. And that's really, really put him in a good spot for this qualifying session. 5 minutes and 50 to go. And it's going to take a mighty lap to beat that.
Yeah, it is Santeri there. Unfortunately, he was almost going to get a slipstream off of one of the Alpha Tauris. That would have been Ascombe. Unfortunately for him, I think it just slightly got in his way, so decided to ditch it towards the pits, of course. H-Eagle, he's improving then in the middle sector. He's only about 4 tenths off of his teammate, which is about the closest he's been all season. Unfortunately, with how close things are at the moment, that puts you way down in 15th place for Hadler, as I'm sure a lot of you guys will know him as. H-Eagle now heads towards the finish line. Can he find a bit more time and get his Red Bull further up towards the top of the order into 10th place? He'll probably be, well actually I was about to say he'll probably be hoping someone overtakes him, but of course the power of the alternate strategy has completely disappeared here, as everyone we're expecting will be able to start the race on a set of the intermediate tyres. Not long to go then in this qualifying session. The yellow flags just for drivers slowing down, of course, and heading their way back to the pit lane. Is Matthew Alder fastest at the moment. Ascombe in second. Ardepel Gamer is third. Isma, Dalerco, Max Wiesel, Hamilton, Zander, Valentin and Eagle. The top 10, Santeri, Fusilio, Brock, Fede, Cornet, Walters, Jensen and Casper rounding out the rest of the times. Looking good again for Benjamin though. Ardepel Gamer 400ths of a second up on his personal best. He's going to need to find more time to get onto pole position. This might be good enough to get him onto the front row though.
10th off Matthew Alder in Sector 1. It is not a personal best in Sector 2, so he will not be happy with that. Out very early for the final run in the session. Could be going for 2 sprints, but here we go, through the banking, and it's invalid, so that will not be a lap time. He possibly could head back into the pit lane here to get a time in again later on in the session. Yet floors it in as to be expected. Jensen at the bottom of the grid is 5 tenths down on his lap. He is not having a good session here. He is really, really struggling on some of those laps. With Facilio, definitely has more pace in that Mercedes. He was purple in Sector 1 and then completely lost it. But he said that was a fantastic pole time by Matthew Alder. He can improve. He was not a personal best in the middle sector. He was a personal best. It wasn't a fastest in the middle sector, so he does have some time left in that Red Bull, and if he can go any quicker, it will almost guarantee the pole position, because that is a crazy lap. It would easily break him into the 109.3s.
Yeah, certainly. It is one of the circuits where you can get away with doing 4 laps in qualifying. We saw a few drivers try that in Austria, of course, and given the fact that we are expecting it to be an intermediate tyre start to the race, they're not going to be using as many sets of the dry tyre, so might be worth just burning up a set of the softs. Depending on how late it stops raining in the race, we might not even get to any of the cars using softs. Yellow flags in every single sector. That pretty much says to us it is the end of qualifying. Haven't seen any major traffic issues at the moment. It wouldn't be too surprising if we get a bit of a car park at the end of the circuit, as there's Valentin Casper and Matthew Alder all getting extremely close together. I think Valentine, he's just trying to burn a bit of fuel at this moment in time on an out lap, and you can just see the queue of cars that are behind him, making things very, very awkward at this moment in time. Hamilton's in 7th place, comes through turn number 9.
Matthew spun on the outlap. Sorry to overcut you there, but he's completely lost the rear and spun. Luckily he is on an outlap, luckily has avoided damage, but he is now stuck behind a right queue of cars. Hamilton, as we were saying, he is improving on his lap, so we'll cut back to him.
Yeah, he is improving. He's decided to bail on this lap, though, and I think Fusilio, he's bailed on it as well. So a lot of drivers trying to get an early lap in, and it just hasn't worked. It's amazing how Formula 1 cars always seem to find the same bit of tarmac, and doing 5 mile an hour on the edge of the circuit in 8th gear. I'm fairly sure a Formula 1 car would try and stall doing that unless you were dipping the clutch, but Fusilio just trying to find himself a bit of space, which is definitely at a premium around this circuit. We are starting to see a few more time improvements coming in. Brock, 0.2 of a second up in Sector 1. That is a massive improvement from him, a driver who started off fairly well as a reserve, but hasn't found points in any of the last 3 races. The best finish of 5th at the Hungarian Grand Prix, another circuit which is quite tight and twisty and difficult to overtake on, so possibly an omen for tonight for Brock, as again he's improving almost, well, just over a 1/4 of a second up. If he nails this final sector, he might get himself onto the front row. He might even be able to challenge Matthew Older for pole position, just a bit wide on the curb, losing the rear of the car. It's only going to cost him a few hundredths, but with how close things are, that could be crucial. Comes towards the line, and it's 3rd place for Brock, somehow squeezing himself into that 9 thousandths of a second gap between Asacombe and Ardapal Gamer, and Daneko now goes up into 2nd place. That is likely to be qualifying over for him. Matthew Alder's not improving in Sector 1. He's down at the moment. We've seen Santeri get himself up into 2nd place. Who else have we got coming towards the end of the lap? Xander has set a fantastic time. Fusilio, he's heading towards the end of his lap as well. He's 0.2 up. It's all starting to heat up now in this qualifying session. Isma was flying through the 1st sector. Matthew Older.
Sector 2 for Isma.
Yeah, brilliant Sector 2 there from Isma. Matthew Older coming around the final corners. What's it going to be for him? Can't go any faster, but still a really good lap time. Can Isma get another pole position this season in the Williams? Heads towards the line. It's a 109.342. Isma takes provisional pole position in the Williams, and I'm not sure there's going to be many drivers out there who can beat him. Cornet's clearly fed up with that lap. He's gone straight off towards the barrier. Thankfully, Aston Martin will be able to get that fixed in time before the race, and we'll just see him invalidations, retirements, and all sorts on the timing charts at the moment, clutching it at the death. The Williams of Isma, a brilliant time for him. His, I believe, 3rd pole position of the season.
Absolutely lit up that lap in the final 2 sectors, improved by a 1/10 over Matthew Alder. Xander managed to get himself on the 2nd row as well, in 3rd position for Mercedes. But that is some lap to beat Matthew Alder. He had a flying lap, but wasn't enough. Isma really had a lot of time to improve on in those final 2 sectors, but really a lot of drivers invalidating their laps at the crucial points, and that is what has cost them positions. But qualifying is anything to go by. We are in for a very close race.
Yeah, certainly. Should be a brilliant race, of course. Starting at the pole position becomes even more important if it is going to be a wet start. Xander really struggled in the first few races this season when he was in the Alfa Romeo team. Of course, putting some brilliant performances in challenges, including a pole position at the Brazilian Grand Prix. So it's great to see him up there in 3rd place. The top 2 in the championship, top 2 on the grid, in probably the order for a championship battle we would want them to be. And Daneko and Max Wiesel also in the top 10. Fair play to Brock that time as well, almost coming out of nowhere. And Valentine getting himself up into the top 10 in his first try in the top tier. I think he can be pleased with that.
It's a performance to be proud of. Getting in the top 10 in the top tier is definitely a performance to be proud of for any driver making his debut. Of course, the championship challengers will want to be on pole, but that may as well be pole for Valentine. A P9 is a good start, has potential in the race, and has potential to possibly get a good result. But of course, we do have that wonderful thing called rain, and once rain comes onto a Formula 1 track, you never really know what to expect. We've had some many great races involving the weather over the years, and this will not stop now.
No, certainly it won't. And of course, we saw a few drivers get it wrong in the dry here. Imagine what it is going to be like in the wet,
Exactly.
of course. But it is Isma on pole position. Matthew Alder in second place. Zander and Santeri on the second row of the grid. Again, Santeri continuing his brilliant form. Autopole Gamer, Daneco, Asacone, Brock, Valentin and Max Wiesel round out the top 10. Hamilton only 3/10 of a second off pole position. Only good enough for the sixth row of the grid alongside Fusilio, Corne Jensen, H. Eagle, Fede, Walters and Casper, who I know only got a setup extremely late on today. He rounds out the cars for today's race. And again, Evan, judging by that qualifying, it is going to be absolutely fantastic in this race. A lot's going to depend on getting this changeover period right. We're expecting between 15 and 30 minutes for the rain to stop, so rough guesstimate, that's going to be around about lap 12 to possibly all the way up into the mid-20s towards which lap you're going to go on. It's going to have a big say depending on what tyres you go on. If you get it right, you could be walking away with a fantastic victory, because overtaking, as we know, going to be at a premium.
Another thing is, this rain does not look that bad, meaning there could be a point where it's still raining and slicks may be quicker. Yes, that's not very realistic, but this is the Formula 1 game we are talking about. Sometimes slicks with a little bit of damp conditions can do you wonders. And the front two, we need to keep an eye on them as well. Championship battles, and there is only one podium between them that has been a second place. The three podiums for ISMA have all been... the podiums for ISMA has only been one second place, the rest being wins, and Matthew Walder's all being wins. So it is all or nothing, really, for them. And of course, in the championship, we have 6 different teams in the top 6. So it could be big changes by the time we are finished the 36 laps of the Zandvoort circuit.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've seen some good battles between them before. They had a pretty decent battle for part of the Belgian Grand Prix until the safety cars mixed things up in Monaco. Let's not forget, Matthew Alder pulled off an absolutely superb overcut strategy around the Monaco circuit to take the lead of the race. ISMA wasn't able to do anything about that. We've not seen them too close together on track too often this season. And while we're just waiting for the drivers to get underway, don't forget you can check out Grid Rival, PremierGL.com/Grid Rival to join our affiliated league on there and test yourself against the best of the PSGL predictors. But it is time for the Dutch Grand Prix at the historic Zandvoort circuit. 4.259 kilometres, 2.646 miles, 2 DRS zones which will not be activated for the start of the race, meaning getting a good start is going to be absolutely crucial. And in the least surprising news ever, the entire grid is on a set of the intermediate tyres.
Absolutely shocking news. The entire grid is on the intermediate tyres, but the strategy in this race is not completely gone because of that. Getting the crossover period is so crucial for a race like this, and not just getting that crossover period for slicks, picking what slicks to go on, it could be absolutely crucial. The softs can do up to about 16 laps. If you want to go over that, you are really counting your lucky stars. So we may see some drivers opting for the mediums just to be quicker than that softs at the end. We are in for a fantastic race here in Zandvoort, though, because Zandvoort is a track that doesn't provide great racing. But sure, look, let's stick a bit of rain on this track, a damp surface possibly towards the slicks, and we'll see what we can get.
Yeah, we'll see what we can get indeed. It's just too bad the formation lap getaway. It might be a bit tough for the drivers to get a good start. It is a bit of a fairly average sized run on the way down towards turn number 1. There's definitely longer out there on the calendar. We'll be seeing that at Mexico, and there's certainly some shorter ones. I'm trying to think of one of those that comes to mind, to be perfectly honest. I know Monaco, obviously, understandably, being the shortest circuit, doesn't really have too much of an opportunity to get moves done into the first corner. And with the wet weather, we saw at Portugal when it was extreme, almost monsoon weather conditions for the entire race. Getting a good start was crucial, because ISMA started second there, able to get ahead of Max Wiesel in the early stages and really controlled it. Controlled the race in Hungary as well, where we saw some overcast conditions. So this is going to be one to watch, ladies and gentlemen. All 18 cars are in their grid slots as we wait for the lights to come on here at Zandvoort. We've got 5 lights. And the Dutch Grand Prix is underway. Seems like a good start then from our pole sitter Isma straight away, covering off Matthew Older, who could come under pressure here from Zander all the way round the outside at turn number 1 then. So it is Isma leading away. Matthew Older and Zander are still battling side by side. You've got Ardapol Gamer trying to get involved there as well. Zander getting shoved onto the curb slightly. There's almost a bit of contact between the Mercedes and the Red Bull. The Alpine of Ardapel getting involved in that one as well, as we have had a spinner. Oh, it's Benjamin out of the race, off into the wall. Will that cause a safety car? No, it will be a virtual safety car. We said they were really getting close for comfort there, probably a bit too close, and unfortunately for Benjamin, a good qualifying session. He is out of the race. Just looked like possibly one of those lap 1 things, really.
It was. I was having a look there through turn 3, just completely lost the rear and ended up in the barrier. I didn't see any contact made. Might have been a little tap here or there, but it was mainly just that kick up of the rear, which you can have in these wet conditions. Great start from Isma. He did exactly what he needs to do. Matthew Older with some nice defence on Zander, because of course the two men behind him, Zander and Santeri, are just fighting for their own dignity, for their own win here today, not fighting for any championship. He does need to be careful of that, because they will not be as cautious as he will be. But Matthew getting his elbows right and truly out on this lap number 1. Virtual safety car now shouldn't go on for too long. And of course we won't see any pit stops under this unless a driver does have damage.
Yeah, unsurprisingly, no one heading towards the pit lane. You see, obviously, ERS use is pretty low, and there we go. Virtual safety car has ended. So hopefully we stick to green flag racing for a bit longer. What this does do is the rain's likely to stop a tiny bit earlier than we would have expected initially. And like you said, Evan, it's a very light rain out there on the circuit, so I wouldn't be too surprised once it stops if it's only a couple of laps before the circuit is ready for dry conditions. Brock and Valentine trying to battle side by side here on the run towards turn number 7. Valentine getting the run there, perhaps under the VSC on Brock. He is up into 7th. Brock is in 8th. We'll take a look at the position changes. Biggest winner is Walters, up 4 places. Max Wiesel, excluding Ardapel Gamer, is the biggest loser. He is down towards 14th. Not good news at all for the Ferrari driver. If he wants to stay in the championship standings, he's really going to have to try and work his way up the order, as that is Fede, who's gone for a run off the circuit into the gravel at turn number 8. Thankfully for him, he is able to continue. Just shaking those gravel stones off his tyres, though. He's going to absolutely kill his pace for the next few corners. Seems to have calmed down then between Zander and Matthew Older, and that probably a good job that virtual safety car came when it did, because it looked as though Matthew could have ended up spending the entire first lap defending from a determined Zander. Oh! Tapped the wall! Matthew Older's had a big slide out of the final corner. Taps the wall, and that might be a brilliant opportunity for Zander to get the move done all the way around the outside into turn number 1. He tried it on the first lap of the race. Don't think it's going to work this time. There's contact between the two of them, and now Santeri's going to try and get himself involved in this as well, and he could end up coming out the best. Santeri is up into 3rd. And we said this banking can bite. Certainly did there. Matthew Older tapped it. Luckily for him, was the rear of the car first.
He has picked up light wing damage, however. On the telemetry, says he's picked up light wing damage, which is not good for him. You could see it in his turn 1. Might be getting a bit used to it now. Is really, really under pressure from Santeri. Santeri absolutely picking up a few spots here, and he's down the inside now is the Alfa Romeo. Side by side, Matthew trying to hold it round the outside, and it's just about work. This is great defending from a stricken Red Bull here.
Yeah, definitely. He's doing a brilliant job at the moment, but you can just see he's about 3 seconds behind Isma at the moment. And we said it's only a short pit lane here, so pitting might not be the worst idea, but given that we are expecting it to go dry at some point in this race, he would drop a long way down towards the back of the order. Fede has come into the pits as well. And Matthew Older, yeah, just looks like he's got absolutely no grip on the rear of that Red Bull. Bambi on ice at the moment. I think the best way to describe it is round again. Matthew Older is round again. Taps the wall on the inside. And he's going to drop all the way down towards 16th. 2 races in a row. An absolute nightmare for our championship leader. Into the pits he comes. Max Wiesel is in as well. All of Isma's Christmases have come at once. He's 3 seconds ahead, and we've only had 3 laps.
Christmas Isma, this is the best present you could wish for. Matthew making the same mistake 2 laps in a row. Gotta get that wing changed, gonna try get back in this race, but that is 2 bad mistakes to make, and 2 mistakes he will not want to make. That is not the race that he has hoped for, but still has the opportunity to get back in this one, and he needs to do it. There's someone else gone. That is another AlphaTauri gone of Asicum. He has gone wide at turn number 8, but I think he's okay. Just lost a few spots and a bit of gravel on his tyres.
Yes, something very interesting here. Max Wiesel has gone for a set of soft tyres. Whether that's what he was planning at the end of the race and forgot to change them in the pits, because it definitely doesn't look like dry tyre conditions at the moment. And that Ferrari is definitely a handful at the moment. Max
He is
Wiesel
gaining a lot, to be fair.
Yeah, he is starting to gain a bit now, but you can just see out of some of the corners, he's really sliding all over the place. He's lost about half a tenth of a second there. I think he's gaining might just be when he's braking. He's obviously not decelerating as much because he's got absolutely no grip on those soft tyres. Might only be a few laps away, but Max Wiesel thinking, hey, I'm down towards the back of the order. It's worth a try. He's really struggling. We'll see whether Asicome goes for something similar, actually. He's coming in off a set of the intermediates, and that looks like slick tyres as well, but that is a more conventional medium set, which would be more difficult in these conditions, but will get you towards the end of the race, of course. We saw Fede and Matthew Alder, once they pitted, they went onto a set of intermediates, so they'll be hoping and praying that this rain carries on for as long as possible. Where the battles are out on track then, Brock still all over the back of Valentine. All of a sudden, Valentine is into the top 5 in this race, and Brock is all over the back of him. They're not using a lot of ERS because it is treacherous around this circuit in the wet conditions to use any of that power from the hybrid system. Jensen, he's now had a spin. He's got away with one down towards 13th. El Plan, definitely not working for Alpine here at the Dutch Grand Prix. It has all gone wrong. Audible Gamer retiring on lap 1. And Jensen plummets down the order now after that spin. But this main battle, it looks like Valentine is a bit of a cork in the bottle at the moment. He's got a long train behind him, which is maybe okay now, but as soon as the rain stops and as soon as DRS becomes activated, get the feeling the McLaren might be a sitting duck as he has a bit of a slide coming through the final corner.
Banking is not a nice corner, and this will allow Brock down the inside. He should have this one fairly easy. Yep, doesn't run wide. That's a very, very well executed move for the Hassman. He can now catch our top 4. This one has pulled away absolutely beautifully here. Looking on the telemetry, there's purple sectors left, right and centre, meaning the track is improving. Maybe not time for these slick runners just yet because they are ice skating all over the place. But the intermediates are definitely picking up, and as soon as they start overheating, we will be seeing some pit stops for the slick tyres, which I think will just come a little bit early than we once expected. As there is a lot of drivers, though, still struggling on these tyres. Hamilton won, and he's got a bit of argy-bargy there with the Aston Martin.
Yeah, a couple of corners ago, it looked as though he was going to have a move on Valentine. Fusilio in the end able to get ahead, and Cornet, who has come onto his own in the last few races, to be honest, struggled a bit at the start of the season, made his debut as a reserve towards the end of last season.
Oh, the other Alpine's gone. Just at the back, there was a battle side by side into the downhill right-hander, and in the wet weather conditions, that was never going to work, and Jensen has taken another trip to the gravel trap, and he will be in the pits again at the end of this lap.
Yeah, Jensen will be into the pits at the end of this lap. Fede went over the gravel trap as well. It's really not gone well for the Red Bull affiliated cars at the moment, unless your name is H-Eagle. He's got himself into the points. Only scored points once this season. That was at a reserve at the Monaco Grand Prix. Could this be his first points as a full-time driver in the Red Bull? You see Max Wiesel and Asicome are now the last 2 cars. They've gone for this strategy in the hope that when the rain stops, they don't have to come into the pits, of course. The issue is, they might have lost more than a pit stop by the time the track is ready for those slick tyres. They are struggling at the moment. Further up the field, we said Cornet was all over the back of Hamilton. His teammates started to look a bit lively as well. Santeri managed to pull away from Zander. He's got that gap up to 2.3 seconds as Jensen goes for another spin on the pit straight at this time on his way towards the pits. That banking proving to be extremely treacherous, especially if you use any ERS on it. It's bad enough over dry. I imagine in these wet conditions it's an absolute nightmare, as I think the medium tyre experiment might just be ending for Asicome.
Something to note, on his last lap, Matthew Alder set a purple sector 2 and a purple sector 3. Couldn't get the fastest lap, as he did have a poor first sector, but in absolutely no way has a championship leader given up. He still knows what pace he has, he still knows the talent that is in the cockpit of that Red Bull, and he is pushing and pushing to get back onto the back of Casper, who has just started lap number 8.
I mean, he's going to have to gain about a second a lap at the moment. If there's anyone in the field who can do that, it is Matthew Alder. Bad pit stops, penalties could come to play. His intermediate tyres are a bit better, so you would expect him to be slightly faster. Any issues? I wouldn't count Matthew Alder out for some points yet, and that 1 point, 2 points, whatever it might be at the end of the race, could just be absolutely crucial by the end of the season for the Constructors' Championship, and more importantly for him, of course, the Drivers' Championship, because as things stand at the moment, Isma would be taking the lead of the championship by 9 points, because it is Santeri who has now got the fastest lap of the race in the Alfa Romeo. Again, looks like it's going to be 3 podiums in 4 races in F2, in F1. This is an absolutely astronomical start to his career on the top tier on the PlayStation. It definitely looks as though Santeri has got some special talent to watch for in the future. We're on board with his teammate, who is all over the back of Fusilio once again. I think there might have just been a little kiss between the Alfa Romeo and the Mercedes there, thankfully. No major harm done, and Fusilio is able to continue on. But you can still see Valentin, for whatever reason, just doesn't seem to have the pace. He's had a good start to the race, but now that Brock's been able to pass him, he has extended that gap up towards 2 seconds. And he has got this train of cars behind him. McLaren sandwich, really, this train. Valentin leading, Casper at the back. Valentin taking that deeper line into turn number 1. Fusilio thought about sticking his nose down the inside and can't quite do anything. You think once the rain stops, it's going to be someone in this train who's going to take the risk, especially if you're towards the back of it. If you are the H Eagle of Alters or Casper, you've not really got a lot to lose, but you've got a lot to gain if you get this change to the tyres right.
There it is, there's the fastest lap for Matthew Alder, but just in this train, Hamilton making a very weird mistake and ending up on the grass. 4 and 5, it's absolutely flat out. He destroyed somebody's sponsorship board, not that they will be too bothered, but it will be somebody taking this risk, and I think Fusilio needs to take a risk before the strategy. He is really losing a lot of time. In terms of time though, this man Santeri up the front for Alfa Romeo is keeping with Isma's pace. Santeri, of course, if you're not aware, is 14 years of age, the man from Finland, and he is lighting up this tier in terms of a new young rookie. Could definitely challenge for the championship next season if he so wishes, but Isma just doing everything right, and now coming up to lap a few cars here on lap number 10. That will be an ego boost for sure.
Yeah, well, Cornet down the inside of Hamilton. This battle has been absolutely fantastic. At the moment, there's banging between the two of them. Cornet almost ending up being spun around. I don't think he'll be too happy about that one. Fusilio had a massive moment on the curbs coming through turn number 11 and 12 just about half a lap ago. So they're fighting hard, and this is something I've seen from Fusilio. Cast your minds back to race number 1 of the season. He was all over the back of Suko for practically half the race, but could not get the move done. And he's not been able to get it done on Valentin at the moment. He's seeing those front 5 drivers escape off into the distance, and he's inviting pressure from Hamilton, Cornet, and all those behind. First man into the 1 minute 19 then is Matthew Alder. Those fresher intermediate tyres doing the job for him at the moment. As we said, do not count him out for points in this race, because we've seen small bits of contact in this train behind the McLaren. I wouldn't be too surprised as they start to get a bit more desperate to make the move. The contact gets a bit bigger and someone ends up with some damage that they cannot ignore. Hopefully, though, I am wrong. So still Valentin in 6th place, Fusilio 7th, Hamilton in 8th, Max Wiesel giving up on that set of soft tyres. Then I wonder if he's going to come in for a set of the intermediates, as here comes Hamilton. In fact, Max Wiesel retires from the race. The Alfa Romeo of Hamilton's going to have to go the long way round on the Mercedes. Can't quite get that to work. Fusilio's gone deep though, and that is a textbook cutback. Boom. Hamilton up into 7th place. Absolutely beautiful from the Alfa Romeo. We'll see if he'll be able to challenge the McLaren of Valentin.
What a beautiful overtake by Hamilton. That is amazing to have that much control on a car in these wet conditions. Fusilio was played there. Matthew Alder, another 10th improvement on his purple lap. As we said, he is not giving up and he knows what is going on here. Probably has some message passed to him that this race is still firmly in your grasp for some points. But this train, somehow Valentin holding on. I've no idea how, as he's taking a bit of a slide now. So that is a commentator's curse, as Hamilton has snuck his way through. Valentin could lose another position for Fusilio here.
You're not a PSGL F1 commentator until you've well and truly cursed someone as Fusilio sticks a nose up the inside there, and thankfully Valentin saw it coming. My goodness me, I thought that was almost certain to end in an accident. Already Hamilton's got about 1.4 seconds on Valentin. He's up the road trying to catch up to Brock. Daneyko all over the back of Xander. He's not going to go for the move. The other Mercedes, he's the aggressor rather than the defender. See whether he can get it done down the inside on Valentin. Corney's going to try and follow this one through as well. Fusilio goes a bit deep. Can Corney get enough of his nose alongside? No, he cannot. He's got the perfect view to get the popcorn out, though, if he wasn't racing, as Fusilio into turn number 2, breaks a tiny bit later and takes the position. And Valentin, now that he's gone offline, is just starting to drop down the field. And the other McLaren, he's trying to make some moves up. Casper all over the back of Walters. I believe Casper's last podium in the top tier came here in season 28 in what was a Dutch 1-2-3 with Joost, Duncan and Casper. Last season it was Joost, Duncan and Jack Laverty, the tie driver, who managed to be the top 3. It looks like we're going to get a completely different, well, we're definitely going to get a different top 3. Looks like we're going to have a different leader of the championship as well. Isbert, he's still leading this race. Santeri, though, just knocking a few tenths of a second down off of that gap.
He is knocking a few tenths, and that's a move from Corn, the inside of Valentin, and that's another one past Valentin. Hamilton, when he got past, improved by 0.6 of a second on his best lap, as that is Jensen giving up in the pit lane. We are down to 15 runners here in Zandvoort, and these drivers are starting to struggle that little bit. The track might be getting just that bit drier. Although one man on the move is Brock. He is gaining a little bit on Daneyko.
Yeah, we saw the Valentin train earlier on. I think we might have a Xander train soon, because Brock is gaining on Daneyko. Once he catches up, it'll be interesting to see whether Hamilton can catch up as well. We've just got someone asking what happened to Ben. I don't think we even were sure, to be honest. Turn number 3 does seem to lose it on the rear. We'll be interested to hear afterwards whether there was any contact. If there is, it could be one that would go to the stewards, because it was looking like a brilliant opportunity to get some first points this season for Benjamin. Unfortunately, he is out of the race. Looks like Xander is going to get some first points of the season. Might even get his first podium. He's going to have 24 laps of defending to do, though, if he wants to do that, because Daneyko, I mean, he's determined to get this move done. Obviously, you know, wants to carry on this streak of podiums, but he's not too far behind Matthew Alder in this championship battle as well. This 2 points again could be massively crucial, but Xander's got, as we said earlier on, he's got nothing bigger to fight for. For Xander, it's all about this race. Daneyko, in the back of his mind, knows he can't do anything stupid that could lead to damage, because then he'd be out the points.
Daneyko, yeah, with 68 points. Matthew Alder with 81. We were saying about points. Ben's first points, of course. He thought he got some last week and then was riddled with penalties by the steward. There's no points again for him today, but we could be on for a lot of new points with Valentin still in the points. He is finding himself under pressure from H. Eagle, but he's holding on just about. He might be running a setup that will see him quicker in the dry, or it could just be that lack of F1 experience that is finding him lose a few positions. We hope not, but still a great battle in this midfield.
Yeah, it is. This train has got a bit shorter, but Fusilio, to be honest, hasn't been able to escape away in the same fashion that Hamilton did, and he's now got Corney all over the back of him. And as I was saying earlier, Corney's really has shone lately, and he might have a brilliant opportunity to get the move done a lot earlier than we would have expected, because DRS has been enabled, and the game almost instantly has decided that it's going to stop raining at that time. I think there were still a few showers coming down when that happened. Fusilio then is defending through Corney at the moment, but this straight not really long enough to go for a move unless there is a significant pace differential. Right, DRS enabled on older F1 games used to be a pretty good sign that the track was ready for dry tyres. Asacombe is hoping that it still is a pretty good sign that the track is ready for dry tyres. I think we're still probably a lap or two away from the optimal conditions.
Still think we are, but that's Daneyko down the inside of Xander. Xander trying to just about hold it on the inside. He just doesn't have the pace. Daneyko gets that move done, and just look at that gap up the front. Santeri has torn down that gap in the last few laps. It was consistently staying at 2.4. We were down to 1.8 seconds, and Santeri, you know, could be looking to take an F1 win here. And that is very, very, very impressive at his age. Hamilton is the leader of our pitted cars, all going for the mediums to the end of the race. We need to keep an eye on the lap times here, just see how they will cope, because they are definitely within undercut range of most of the guys in front. Isma and Santeri might just be safe from them, but we will see.
Yes, Hamilton has a massive slide coming out of turn number 3 there. 34.5 was the gap as he went into the second corner. It's about 35 seconds at the moment. It is an extremely short pit lane here, as Tom is pointing out in the chat. So Hamilton, I think he'll be hoping to maybe try and get ahead of Brock. He's not lost as much here, and he might have just flicked halfway round the lap towards the medium tyres. It might be one of those where it doesn't really matter which lap you've got it on out of these two. You were pretty much doing the right choice, but everyone who has pitted that lap earlier, they'll be used to their medium tyres a lot more, so the lap out of the pit could be a bit hairy for the likes of Brock and H-Eagle. And in fact, there goes Xander into the pits, medium tyres on. It will be mediums towards the end for all of these drivers. I think the move to watch out for is going to be, can Hamilton get close to Brock at all, and will he be able to gain? I think he's going to be too far behind to make any moves up the field. Everyone but Fede is now on a set of the medium tyres, and Fede will almost certainly be coming in on this lap. So not a lot changing in that pit stop period. Isma, though, might have just been a bit more aggressive into the pit lane, because that gap has gone back up to 2.8 seconds from what was 1.8. We'll see what pace Santeri has got on these medium tyres. 21 laps is no problem whatsoever. They'll have probably used well less fuel in the intermediate conditions. This might just be 21 qualifying laps from the entire field now.
It might be, and it is also another purple sector 3 for Matthew Alder. His pace is transferred onto these slick tyres. A report of what did happen to Ben. His mum actually came into the room and distracted him, and he lost the rear, and that was bish bash boss. His race was over. In terms of other races being over, not really many, apart from maybe the two Alpha Tauris at the bottom. Asacombe, unfortunately, has just gone a lap down to Isma. Isma is in a really good spot to take this championship lead, because Matthew Alder has a mountain to climb if he wants to get close to the points. Although Asacombe, we were saying, his race is over. He's just set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix.
I think that's more to do with the fact he was the first driver to come in for the set of the medium tyres, so kind of by default at the moment. He's still going to take it though, as Cornet following the Matthew Alder line of having a massive slide, and that has put him under massive pressure from Valentine then. Fusilio's on the outside, Cornet on the inside. Valentine tries to go all the way around the outside of the Aston Martin. And do you know what? If the Mercedes driver hadn't been there, I think he'd have had half a chance of making that one stick. He has found a bit more pace. Well, they've definitely got a bit more racy now that we are into dry conditions. We'll change back to the gap, to the interval gap, so you can see who's within DRS range of everyone. Still this train behind Fusilio. Whether Cornet, Valentine, Walters, H-Eagle and Casper will be able to make any moves. So we said Matthew Alder had to gain about a second a lap on these drivers. If he gains a second a lap, he'd catch him up with 4 or 5 laps to go. As Murray Walker said though, catching is one thing, passing is quite another, especially once you are caught in a DRS train. Valentine, I think, just thinks about going offline, trying to force Cornet into mistake into turn number 10, but this isn't the first rodeo for the Aston Martin driver. He's a bit too wide for that one, and therefore does not have an opportunity to go for that move into turn number 11. Fastest lap of the race then from Isma just extends his gap to 3 seconds. What will be interesting to see is whether Xander can hang with Danirko. He's used a lot of his ERS on that lap. Yes, that gets him the fastest lap, but I think also that's to try and obviously get back within DRS range, as Cornet has managed to get ahead of Fusilio, and I think Valentine must have had a moment there because he's dropped behind Walters.
He did. He had that same classic Matthew Alder slide through the banking, and he's dropped to 10th now under pressure from H-Eagle, who he was before the pit stop window. Matthew Alder sets the fastest lap of the race and slots us into the 1:15s. So pace is getting quicker, so is Matthew, and he has gained about 2 seconds on Casper since we last checked up on him. Although his fastest lap is being beaten, and we are just going to see these fastest laps keep improving until we get down closer to the qualifying time. Danirko is looking quick in some sectors, but Santeri is managing to keep this gap. Danirko looks very, very quick through sector 1, but Santeri just doing a good job here. We haven't got the split strategy we were talking about, but who knows? We still have not got a safety car in this race, and a safety car can really change everything, as here comes the fastest lap train again.
Yes, Santeri, the first driver into the 1:14s. Last lap around, Matthew Alder was about 2 seconds a lap faster than the likes of Valentine and Walters and Fusilio. I think all that battling and all the mini issues they were having really costing them time, of course. So, yeah, I think Alder will definitely catch them up by the end of the race. just whether he can get any moves done. He might as well get his elbows out if he does catch them up. He's getting no points anyway. If he makes a mistake, goes a bit too deep, as long as he doesn't take anyone else out, he's probably going to get no points. So it's worth him perhaps just being a bit more aggressive, and I think he will probably know that. Valentine, now that he's down into 10th, wonder whether we're going to see him trying to fight as well. Perhaps was known as a bit more of a qualifying merchant last season. I know he's been a lot more promising in F2 this season with his race pace. He is just struggling a bit at the moment as Fede now gets the fastest lap of the race. 12 seconds behind Matthew Older. He really is going to need a miracle like a safety car to get himself back into the action. As I wonder, I'm just trying to think at the moment. Yeah, Asacombe is still a lap down. He's following Isma around at the moment and just getting a bit of free DRS. And who can blame him? He is ghosted. We do have ghosting on in this league for lapped cars. As Asacombe, you can see there, just having a bit of fun. And those fastest laps come tumbling down again. Santeri's gained about 3/10 since the pit stop period. So he is closing in slightly. I think he's going to have to close in a lot more than that, though, if he wants to challenge for the victory. Hamilton, that is a fantastic lap from the Alfa Romeo driver, because he's not got the DRS, of course.
That was a fantastic lap. We are down into the 1:13.5s already. It felt like it was only a couple of minutes ago that we were in the 1:15s. But this race, if we do get a safety car, we will see a couple of people gamble for a set of softs. Matthew Walder will probably be one of them. Valentine has picked up his pace again, got really close to Wouters there, and actually pushed the Williams a little bit around the banking. No damage, of course, it was only a light tap, but this midfield is starting to break a little bit, but we may see a reform with a couple of overtakes. But Hamilton is really, really in a world of his own. 4.1 seconds behind him, 4 seconds to the car in front. He's running well.
Yeah, it's looking really good for Alfa Romeo again. It's a shame they had such a struggling start to the season with Hamilton unable to make a few races and Zander having the issues that he had when he was full-time for them, because he's just doing brilliantly. 2nd and 6th at the moment. It's looking good for Aston Martin in the Constructors with 3rd and 7th, and Williams in 1st and 9th. Red Bull and especially Ferrari, who will not be scoring any points at all, will be dropping down the order, and I think that could well be the championship challenge for Max Wiesel over. He's going to be around 2 race wins off the championship lead. Yes, there's still 6 races to go, but he's going to need multiple drivers to slip up, not just one, as Hamilton again sets the fastest lap, and he's keeping his ERS at around about 40%. This track, it is very difficult once you dip down to try and get your ERS back up. Zander's managed to do it, but I think that's because he's in the DRS of Danerco, and I've seen this a few times around here. There's not too many heavy braking zones, so you can't build your ERS up too much, and if you do that and you're at the front of a train, you are going to be a sitting duck into turn 1.
I don't know what happened to these two AlphaTauris, because their pace is absolutely amazing at the back here. Freddy taking the fastest lap, he's in nowhere. There's no one even in his sector on this circuit. The pace of cars who did struggle in the rain is really picking up. Hamilton again in sector 2 and is still managing that ERS. Isma sets the fastest lap with a 12.5, of course, but the pace is really spread across the board. If we do get a safety car, as I have spoken about probably one too many times, we will see a lot of overtakes happening, as this will probably be another fastest lap for Hamilton. No, it will not. He will just miss out by less than a tenth of a second.
Yeah, Brock into the 112s then on a set of medium tyres. We're probably not too far away from the ultimate pace of what you can do on these mediums. They are all pushing incredibly hard. Just try and see at the moment if these drivers have got a bit of spare fuel. Yeah, all the ones that we can see it off, they've got at least a lap of spare fuel. So it's not like they're going to have to lift and coast and save any at the moment. It's just flat out. These medium tyres can do 30 laps. They've only got to get them to do 20 in what are still overcast, cool conditions. So that shouldn't be a problem at all. Brock now getting onto the back of Danerco. He set the fastest lap of the race. That could be a very important point at the end of this race. I'm sure Isma, as long as he's got the space to do so, he'll be backing off to save a bit of ERS near the end and then absolutely gunning it perhaps on some of the final laps. But Brock almost back within a second. 5th place is his best result of the season. He's had a few bad races outside the points. Got a slim chance of a podium here, as there goes Isma again, now into the 112.1. Zander doesn't look close enough to Danerco to get the move done. Brock probably just going to stay behind a bit and hope that he can save a bit of that hybrid system energy. About 150 brake horsepower, of course, in a modern Formula 1 car. So a sizable chunk to be losing out. Your mid-sized Ford Focus engine sized amount of power that you're going to be losing out on will make quite a few differences in the overtake. So he'll be hoping he can just relax and get himself back onto a decent amount of energy and then start assaulting for a possible challenge for the podium. All seems to have calmed down in that midfield train since Cornet got ahead of Fusilio, just keeping the Mercedes at bay, and Valtters, the two McLarens and H-Eagle also not able to get any moves done, but Valentin still right on the back of that Williams, who is clipping on his ERS.
This is the DRS train we were talking about earlier on in qualifying and before qualifying. Matthew Alder has the fastest lap now. His pace is kind of neutral out now that there's not any chaos. He needs a miracle to get points in this one. And 2 no scoring weeks in a row is not good for his championship at all. He needs to be back next week and needs to try his best to get points today, which he is, of course. But the real man on the move is Xander, as he's looking down the inside of Denirko. Now the Mercedes-man has got the job done down the inside of the Aston Martin, and that is not doing Denirko's championships any favours, because Xander is now back onto his home Grand Prix podium.
Yes, given the fact that Denirko's got 90% ERS, it suggests to me he wasn't fighting that too much and wasn't that bothered about following for a bit. But yeah, Denirko down into 4th. Xander at his home race. Dutch drivers do tend to do well around here in PSGL. Ask certain Mr. Otmia about his now 5th victory in a row as he's dominated his way towards the PC Championship. Thankfully, things are looking a lot closer in the PlayStation Championship. The lead will change hands as things stand at the moment. Isma will take the lead for the first time since round number 1 of the season when he won at Portugal, but we've still got a third of the race to go. He's stretched the gap to Santeri up to 3.2 seconds, but we've seen how easy it is to get things wrong. He's using overtake on the banking, which is a bit braver than what I would be to be through there, but there's a reason why I'm in the commentary box and not driving, because I'd have been in the wall by now, or I'd be about 3 laps down. Denirko, again, not really bothering to close up too much to the back of Xander. He is using his DRS, but closes it quite early. No electrical energy, just happy to sit in that position for now, and needs to be careful about doing that, because I imagine once Brock's got his battery up to a bit more of a healthier state, he won't need a second invitation to send one down the inside of the Aston Martin as well.
I remember as well, Xander's battery was little to none as he came out of the pits. It's back into the mid-50s, 60s now. So he's really managing this well. Of course, we 4 Dutch drivers on this grid tonight. One of them is bound to do well. That one is Xander. The front 2 kind of neutralised on pace, really. I don't think they, unless we get some form of a safety car, that they will slip up from those positions. Of course, 15 and 14, the 2 respectively, which is just goes to prove that the young guys are showing the old ones up.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think Max Wiesel, he's, I think, the only driver in this field who is older than me. It's very rare in a league races stream I'm the oldest person, as
that's Matthew
there's been
Alder.
a spin, and that is Matthew Alder, and any chances he had of getting points are now fully relying on the safety car. He was pushing hard, and who could blame him? But Matthew Alder is around again. He's now 19 seconds off the back of Casper, and it is going to be a second pointless race for Matthew Alder. I'm just going to try and have a look back to the last time he went 2 races in a row without scoring any points, and I could be here quite a while, ladies and gentlemen, looking for that fact. It was round number 2 and round number 3 of season 28 back on F1 2020. As if it's a yellow flag, and that's Hamilton out the race. Now that could be a safety car.
Yes, there it is. Matthew Alder has just passed the pit lane as well, but he has got a lucky blessing in disguise, and so do a lot of the drivers. Could we see some people pit for softs? Now is a perfect time for them. They'll 100% make the end. We will see what our front runners do, because if Isma and Santeri pit, someone's bound to stay out and try risk those mediums. Now this is where things get interesting. Matthew Alder has made a mistake and been blessed on the same lap. Lucky for him, the championship leader might just have a saving grace as Isma's in, and a lot of them are in. Santeri is in. I think that might be a bit of a recurring theme down the field as Xander follows them lot in.
I think we're pretty much going to see the entire field come into the pits. I was about to say Cornet could get held up, but he had about 10 seconds back to his teammate, so that shouldn't be an issue. It is going to be soft tyres for everyone, and Hamilton, when it was looking good, and wow, Cornet, he stays out there. This is intriguing. Gets himself up. He's going to be close
Fusilio.
with Santeri. He's going to get himself up into third place. Fusilio, H-Eagle staying out as well. Everyone else has come in for a set of the soft tyres. And Horne, Fusilio and H-Eagle, perhaps knowing that their medium tyres are still in a decent condition. But Delta isn't too much around here. We saw him in qualifying. We're only talking, you know, close to half a second, then the full second and above that we get at most circuits. This could well be a gamble that is worth it for Corne. What it has done, though, is put his teammate a long way down the order, because Daneyko is now in 7th place. And it brings Matthew Alder back, you know, onto the back of the pack.
Would this be team tactics from Aston Martin? Because Zander was outpacing Daneyko. Could it be maybe a play to just get Daneyko those few positions? Well, we'll never really know the true answer to that, but there is now definitely a cork in the bottle for those people below H-Eagle on the soft compound tyres. Everybody, apart from those middle three, has pit from the mediums to the softs, and now we will see possibly 9-lap sprint, which we love a good sprint race here in Formula 1. This will be no different.
We do indeed. Everyone's batteries are full. Majority of the field has got fresh tyres. We've already said fuel, not going to be a worry whatsoever. And they'll all be feisty. They've all been raring for a battle, I'd say, apart from the midfield group, which have been battling for the previous 27 laps. But Isma's escaped since the start of the race. He's probably the only driver who didn't want to battle in this race and would have been quite happy staying where he was, out alone. What could prove to be a bit of a handy thing for Isma is he has got a car in between himself and Santeri. And unlike in real Formula 1, what happens sometimes with select cars is lap cars do get let through to the back of the field. But Asacombe, he will be staying there for the entire safety car period, which probably means any chance Santeri has of getting the move done on the restart is null and void. It's going to take a bit of a messy restart from Isma for Santeri to be able to challenge him into turn 1. Once that happens and Asacombe is ghosted, it's also going to provide a bit of a distraction for some of these drivers.
It is a very clever comment here. Why did Asacombe pit? Because he could have unlapped himself and then pit, because he would have had enough time to go around the track. But he is stuck being lapped now. There is no way he's going to get past this one. The game simply won't allow it. His teammate, however, has got onto the back of this train, just avoided being lapped. And now he could, well, if he can get some points out of this race after all that's happened, it will be a fantastic result. We possibly will go racing again on this lap. There we go. We'll go racing on this lap. Santeri has a lot of work to do because he needs to get past this lap car and then needs to get past the fastest man of the day. And apart from the fastest lap, is on for a Grand Slam. He's not on for a Grand Slam, as he needs the fastest lap, but other than that, he has fit the credentials.
Yeah, we'll see if he can get the fastest lap. I wouldn't put it past him on the set of the soft tyres at the moment. He's just trying to warm them up, get as much heat into them as possible, trying to make sure that he doesn't get caught out and give a lovely slipstream to everyone. Would not be surprised if as soon as we're off this banking, he absolutely floors it, takes that shallow line down at the bottom. In fact, there we go, goes halfway around the banking, and that is an absolutely perfect restart for him. Asacombe thinks, you know what, I'm not having any say about this, I'm getting well out of the way, and he retires from the race as Daneyko trying to go round the outside of Zander. There's been a bit of contact. Zander's round what was looking like a possible podium for him. He is round, he is down to 13th. And he is going to be scoring no points whatsoever. Matthew Alder's contact with Walters there. This could be a bit controversial because, of course, he's the teammate of his championship rival. And Casper's gone round the outside of the pair of them. Casper up into 9th. Matthew Alder down into 12th. And he's round as well. Big shunt out of the race. Still in the race somehow is Matthew Alder. My goodness, those wishbones must be made out of adamantium because I've no idea how that was not a retirement. Daneyko now loses a place to Brock. An absolutely hectic restart there, unless your name was Isma.
Gotta say, Matthew Alder did pick up wing damage from that crash. He certainly has wing damage now. That is a really, really big impact, and unfortunately, it was do or die for Matthew. He unfortunately has ended up the latter, but this is a really, really hectic restart. These medium runners have held on well. Corner actually attacking Santeri into turn 1, but Isma has not bolted away, but has a lot more in his battery. Then Santeri, fastest lap of the race, goes to Santeri, and I don't believe Matthew Alder will be keeping that. He might try take a point off somebody in the championship by picking up that fastest lap, as that is Wouters past Denirko. Denirko into the pit lane. So that is 2 championship rivals in the top 3 not scoring points today.
And Max Wiesel, of course, the man 4th in the championship, he's out of the race as well, so this has been absolutely perfect for Isma at the moment. If he can get the fastest lap, this will have been an absolute dream race for him. I'm sure he would have preferred to, beat them out on track in a fantastic battle, but hey, you'll take what you can get here, and it looks like he's going to be taking the 16 points. Santeri, though, is right on the back of him. He's had a 2nd place, he's had a 3rd place. Could he get a win in only his 4th race in the PSGL top tier? Cornet's dropping back a bit, but he's keeping Fusilio at bay, which could keep him safe with the DRS. What is going to be a worry for these on the mediums is, of course, Brock, Valentin, Casper and Fede there as well, and he's the one who's gained a lot out of this, of course. Fede was in no man's land for pretty much the entire race after an incident in the first few laps. He's going to get some points here. He might be able to work his way past the medium runners. DRS is enabled. First time they'll be able to use it is on the run down towards turn number 11. And Brock's deciding, I don't need the DRS. Straight down the inside on the soft tyres. He is back into the top 5 in the Haas.
Brock really showing his pace there. He has a great opportunity to take a podium here. His best result of the season being P5. He has a really, really good opportunity here. Santeri sticking with Isma, although Isma 87% battery. He is still looking really, really comfortable to win this Grand Prix, and I'm sure he will be loving it. Of course, Matthew Alder DNF'd here last season. He's down in 13th. It is not much better for him.
Yeah, he's really struggling. Valentin, as he has been, I think, ever since we changed onto the slick tyres, he's right on the back of another car. It was Walters earlier on. It is H-Eagle now. This DRS train that has formed once again is going to require some very brave moves from the McLaren driver. H-Eagle a bit wild over the curbs into 11 and 12. I'd still say that McLaren's got an opportunity here. He's got a lot more ERS than the Red Bull and should get a much better exit off of 13 and 14, and straight away Hadler on that ERS button trying to use as much as possible, and I think unfortunately for him it is all going to be in vain. Valentin streaks down the inside up into 6th. How far up the order can he get? Could we see, well, it looks like we are going to see someone get their first podium of the season. Cornet is in that at the moment. Fusilio has had podiums earlier on. Brock hasn't, Valentin hasn't, neither has H-Eagle, Casper, Fede and Xander and Walters are a bit further back, and Xander, in fact, despite that incident earlier, he is going to get a point as a consolation, but I'm sure we'll all agree, probably deserved a lot more. Denirko taking that fastest lap point, possibly off Isma again, could be all important at the end. These medium runners, apart from H-Eagle, you've got to say, they've done a fantastic job. Cornet and Fusilio not really come under any pressure at the moment.
Yep, Corney's saving grace is the fact that there's a medium runner behind him. He is on course for a podium. He would absolutely love that, of course, for Aston Martin and for himself. Of course, being a Dutch driver, he'd love to podium at his home Grand Prix. Matthew Alder takes the fastest lap of the race off Denirko. Isma still with a lot more battery than the young Finishman behind, and the gap has gone to about 8 tenths. Might have been a mistake in that lap for Santeri. We go on to 33. And there is a move here from Brock. He's trying to get past another one of the medium runners. Going to have to go the long way around the outside. He's almost got it done around the outside for Brock. Oh no! Almost off the curb and into the side of the Mercedes. That is pitch perfect defending from Fusilio. And however, he is lucky that Haas did not have a bigger slide.
Yeah, bit of bumper cars between the two of them. I think that was marginal, but just about fair there from Fusilio. Keeps hold of that position, and Brock burnt up a lot of his ERS there down the straight, trying to defend that, so that could even leave him vulnerable to Valentin next time around. And Cornet's just driving around on his own at the moment, 3 seconds ahead behind Santeri. Safe from Fusilio, who definitely looks as though he's going to be doing a lot more defending than attacking in the final few laps of this race. Santeri trying to close into Isma then. This is the battle for the lead of this race. Barring an accident, Isma is going to be taking the championship lead. Santeri could just become Matthew Alder's favourite driver tonight, though, if he can somehow manage to work his way past the new Williams driver. Just can't get close enough through 13 and 14, though, to really put up a serious challenge. Likewise with Brock this time. He can't get close enough to Fusilio, and I think Valentin's going to try and have a go here. Brock goes half defensive, goes very deep, as does the McLaren driver. They were using all the grip that those soft tyres had in the braking zone, perhaps a bit too much, and it all just stays status quo in that midfield pack once again. It's been an absolutely scintillating race at this moment in time. It looks as though Isma might just have enough to hold on, but we've seen how easy it is to just have a slight lack of concentration. One small mistake and Santeri will be able to pounce.
Either of these guys do deserve to win this race, and as you were saying, Matthew Alder might have found his new favourite driver. This would take big points off Isma. Well, not necessarily big points, but it would take more points than dropping to third from second would. So Santeri may go for the risk here. Of course, he wants his first F1 win. He's not in the championship. He wants to win this race as much as anyone, and he has built up a massive tank of battery, but Isma breaking into the 100% almost through the slow corners. Down the straight, he's not even burning it. Santeri just loses too much time in that last sector, and unfortunately that may be the cause of him not winning this race, because Isma just has that pace through the banking and the final chicane.
Yeah, Valentin's burnt through his battery as well, so challenging box going to become a lot more difficult for him. Fede all over the back of Casper. Good to see, Casper working his way back up. He's had a few tough races this season so far. I think he's definitely not been the results he would have liked, especially in the last two, a couple of DNFs, but getting himself back into the points. Don't think this race would be enough though to get him back towards that top 10 of the championship. His teammates almost pushing the Haas car around turn number 7 and 8 at the moment. Just has to back off, just has to think about where he can get this move done. Turn 10 is an opportunity if you can force the car ahead of you offline, but you'll be a very brave man to do that at the moment, because if it goes wrong, you're dropping behind Eagle, you're dropping behind Casper, you're probably dropping behind Fede as well, as Matthew Alder comes into the pits, I reckon, for one final assault at the fastest lap.
I think Matthew Alder may risk going a lap down here as we head on to the final lap of the race. Santeri burning a lap battery, just going to try to get as close as possible to Isma. Sets a purple sector 3 in the process of doing that, and Matthew Alder has gone a lap down to his championship rival. That is a kick for him. Isma lapping a championship rival is certainly a brilliant thing, but he's focused on different things, because Santeri is really, really close behind this Williams. The Williams burning all his battery now as well to keep the Alfa Romeo behind.
Yeah, I think the gloves are off, unsurprisingly, for this final lap of the race. Everyone is just going for it. Santeri on the back of Isma. Looked as though he was able to stay closer to the apex there, coming through 7. Just drifted out a bit wide through 8, and things really starting to close up here. You're too far behind to have this move into turn number 10, so it is all going to be about the exit out of 10. Isma gets a better one, and that might well be the final opportunity then for Santeri to get his first win. Just escaping him at the moment. Isma's led this race the entire way. Has a bit of a wobble out of number 12 in one of the lower PC tiers. We saw the move get done on the slipstream on the run towards the checkered flag, but I think Isma is going to be far enough ahead to take victory at the Dutch Grand Prix. It is a second win in a row. He takes the championship lead. Santeri is in second place. It's a first podium of the season for Cornet. A first ever podium in the top tier for the Dutchman. Fusilio in 4th. Brock in 5th. Valentin, H-Eagle, Casper, Fede, Zander rounding out the top 10. And Walters, Danerco and Matthew Alder, the ones who massively lost out on that second restart. But I think even if all these incidents to Matthew Alder didn't happen, Isma looked imperious, really, from the word go.
Isma was really, really impressive today. There was no stopping him. And the fastest lap, the only thing denying him of a Grand Slam. And of course, that little bit of added glory for him, lapping his championship rival. Of course, there was a lot of incidents and pit stops that cost that, but that P1 is just going to be that little bit sweeter.
Yes, it will be indeed. Takes the championship lead now. He was 23 points behind just 2 rounds ago. He's managed to turn that into a 9-point lead. I'm sure he will be very happy indeed with how things have gone. As we do take a look at the provisional results, there may well be the odd penalty appeal, I think, coming in here. There was definitely a few incidents to keep us entertained while we wait for the driver interviews to come about. But it is Isma who takes the victory then. I think that is for certain. Santeri with another brilliant podium. He's almost into the top 5 in the championship, having only done 4 races this season. Cornet his best result in third. Fusilio fourth, Brock in fifth. Valentine points on his debut in sixth. H. Eagle gets his first points for the Red Bull team in seventh. Casper, Bede and Xander rounding out the top 10. Just outside of that were Walters, Danerco, Matthew Older. Just stopped it being an absolutely perfect day for his championship rival with that fastest lap. And then the retirements, Escombe, Hamilton, Jensen, Max Wiesel and Powell Gamer on lap number 1. That is sort of where the chaos really happened. It was quite a... There was plenty of action happening. It was quite a peaceful race, really, until Hamilton had that very strange mistake, just probably pushing a bit too hard on, on the set of the medium tyres. That bunched the field up, and we see this often in Formula 1. Safety cars, they're meant to be safe, but they can lead to incidents.
Yeah, it's really a contradiction when it comes to safety cars, because it does bunch us all up again, and it does cause a lot more incidents. But really unlucky for Hamilton, of course, to make that mistake. He was running well. He had very good pace today, but that did give some drivers a good opportunity, especially Fada. He was in the middle of nowhere in that race and did manage to snatch himself some points. Matthew Adler will be disappointed with that, but I think he just needs to take it on the chin and get on to Brazil. Races like this happen, especially in the championship, as long as this. Focus on the next race and get back to beating Isma is what he needs to take from this, really.
Yeah, must have been... I feel like it must have been a bit soul-destroying for him. Yes, he made the mistakes in the first stint, whether his setup just clearly not stable enough for him. Quite often, as you see from anyone who's tried using a time trial setup in a race, the fastest setups are inherently unstable and are definitely not suited towards the wet conditions. But, got that perhaps a bit of hope back when the safety car came in and got himself back up into the points. And then just a bit of contact, I think, with Walters. Danerco was involved in something as well. We saw Xander getting spun around at turn number 1. And that hope extinguished. The front two were just able to get away. Santeri, he closed back up to Isma. Must have thought he's got that chance of a first victory, but so well controlled by the Spaniard.
Spaniard was really, really mature in that race, because he saved up his battery. He knew, right, the best place Santeri's going to go for this is on the last lap, and Santeri did. But they can both be really, really proud of that performance, because Santeri may not have got the win, but he, as we said, that's now another podium in the highest tier on the PlayStation. And battling the championship leader is not always a bad thing.
No, it's definitely not a bad thing whatsoever. But without further ado, let's get the podium interviews underway. We have got one of the drivers in the commentary box underway, so hopefully he will be able to hear us. Congratulations to Cornet on your first podium in the top tier of PSGL, staying out on the medium tyres, proving to be the right choice for yourself.
Yeah, mate, thank you very much. It was a chaotic race.
Yeah, certainly was. Tell us about that first stint. You spent a lot of it stuck behind Valentine. Just how difficult is it to overtake? We know it's hard to overtake around here anyway, but just how difficult is it to overtake on these intermediate tyres as well? Because you don't get the DRS, and that's where you see most of the moves happen.
Yeah, it was really difficult because it's already difficult to overtake in the normal conditions. So in the wet, it's really, really difficult. But yeah, I don't know. I had more pace than Valentin. He made a mistake. So yeah, I could easily pass him at that moment. And so I could continue my pace with the interstint.
Yeah, worked out well. First podium for yourself, continuing your good form, and bit of consolation, of course, for Aston Martin in the constructors after the issues that Danerco had. Evan, any questions for our third place finisher?
Not really any questions other than you drove a really great race. That is another Dutch driver to add to a big list of Dutch podiums here in PSGL F1. You just must be really proud to take one at your home Grand Prix, I'm sure.
Yeah, mate, I'm so happy. Like, another P3 for me. So yeah, I'm really happy with it.
Yeah, congratulations. Next race is Brazil. How do you think you'll do around there? Is that a circuit you enjoy?
Yeah, Brazil's a good circuit for me. I really like the track. I love to race there, so it will be fun to race there.
Yeah, definitely. Looking forward to it myself. Congratulations on your podium. I'll let you head off.
Thank you, guys.
and we will talk, hopefully, to our race winner for the second race in a row, 4th time this season, and he is now the championship leader. It is Isma. It all looked very, very easy for you out there.
Well, first of all, GG's to Corne and Santa. They did a very good race. They deserve it, so yeah. In my quali lap, I think was pretty good, so I got pole. But I didn't practice a lot because I was in the PC in the afternoon playing. So then when I turned on the PS, I had the patch. I had to wait till 8:30 and then started to practice a bit. So yeah, I'm happy I got pole. Then I got a very good start. I maintained the lead. Then Matthew crashed, I think, in the last corner. He lost the rear. I don't know what happened. But yeah, it's good for me because I won the race, 16 points for me and 0 for him. And yeah, I'm so happy with the win.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I suppose, at least at Brazil, you can practice that on F1 2018 on the PC, because playing that seems to work for you. What do you think's changed for you over the last couple of races? Because you had a couple of races where you were struggling. Belgium and Netherlands, you've been absolutely brilliant again.
Well, in Austria, I got contact with Ogianos, so I lost a few positions. And in Jeddah, I had throttle pedal, so I had to retire. And yeah, then Belgium came, I won the race. Now Netherlands as well won the race. I'm happy. I hope I can still be like that with this level.
Yeah, certainly. It's given us an absolutely brilliant championship battle. Evan, any questions for our race winner?
How well you managed that. You had the ERS on the last lap, and did you even make a mistake that race? It was really, really well controlled. I know you had a bit of a slide in the last lap. We'll address over that, but just how easy is it for you to dominate races like that?
Well, in the last lap, I was a bit scared because Santeri was a bit close behind me, 5/10s, and the DRS here is a bit powerful. So I managed well the ERS. I had full battery in the last 2 laps, so I could maintain him behind me.
Yeah, definitely battery management proving to be key here. Next race, Brazil. How are you feeling about that one? Do you think you could possibly make it 3 victories in a row, matching what Matthew did earlier this season?
Yeah, why not? I like Brazil. It's a beautiful track where races are beautiful there, so it will be exciting to see how it goes.
Yeah, definitely one that I always look forward to. So congratulations, Isma. I'll let you head off, and well done on the win.
Thanks.
Yeah, don't believe we will be getting Santeri with us, unfortunately. So that is pretty much it for this stream. Next race around, Evan, as we've already spoken about, it is going to be Brazil. One that I think all the drivers enjoy, and another one where, where you catch up to cars, I always think around here, is crucial once you've come out of the pit lane. If you do it in Sector 1 and Sector 3, you're fine. If you do it in Sector 2, you will lose a lot of time.
Definitely, and if you like overtakes, you'll like Brazil. It is definitely a track where we will see more overtakes than tonight especially. It is definitely a track where a lot can happen. Of course, Brazil famous for its season finales, its season openings over the year. We have it in the middle of the season. Doesn't mean it's going to be any less chaos, and it will once again be a track where a lot of drivers can gain a lot of spots in the championship. Qualifying is not that important in Brazil, but you have to start at the top to win the race, just like we see in Isma tonight. Although drivers like Santeri, who are that little bit more risky with their moves, will definitely do well in Interlagos.
Yeah, certainly one that I'm looking forward to, and I'm sure everyone watching is, and I'm sure you're all looking forward to Wednesday as well. The latest round in the PC tier, where a certain Welshman, Mr. George Morgan, will be making his return to the PSGL commentary box alongside Dan Field. Can Jarno Opmeer make it a Super 6 victories in a row? The other drivers really going to have to start doing something. Jake Benham, Shanaka Clay, pretty much now or never for their championship chances. There'll also be the rest of the PC tiers on the Thursday, as well as the lower PlayStation tiers that will be driven in. It's PlayStation tiers on a Sunday, the top ones on the Monday with myself, and I imagine Aidan will be well back by then on the 11th of April at 8 p.m. Thank you so much, Evan, for joining me in the commentary box for tonight. Thank you so much. I think you've enjoyed yourself a bit.
I have. It's been a great race. Races like this are fantastic to commentate on. And races like this will definitely not be stopping. So make sure to tune in into Brazil, because we're in for a brilliant championship battle. Matty Boulder versus Isma, the new Verstappen Hamilton.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be one to watch. Hopefully, it ends up a bit more Verstappen Leclerc and a bit less contact. Although, if I could put my life savings on there, if I could put my life savings on there being a bit of wheel banging between the two of them at Albert Park, I almost certainly would do. So thank you again, Evan, for joining me. Thank you so much to the drivers for joining us in the interviews. Thanks to all you guys at home for watching as well, especially with the patience with the technical difficulties we had at the start of the stream. Thanks also to our sponsors, Grid Rival. Make sure to check them out in the description below. And we will see you in a week's time for the Brazilian Grand Prix. Thanks once again, and good night.